You're invited to join us in Sedona, March 8th through the 10th of 2024, a very transformational year for humanity. I am so delighted to present to you phenomenal keynote speakers, sound journey performers, a world champion Native American hoop dancer, and as always, outdoor journeys into Sedona's sacred vortex sites, as well as indoor interactive workshops so that you can engage one-on-one with these world-renowned thought leaders. Ruben Langdon and I will be co-hosting an Ask the Galactic Ascension panel. Alan Steinfeld and I will be co-hosting an ultra-celestial guest panel exploring the afterlife and higher realms. There will be plenty of retail and food vendors. Don't miss out on our early bird special. Reserve your seats before December 1st. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and enlightened by the world's leading luminaries. Be surrounded by the loving, heart-centered, soul-inspired spiritual community. Be embraced by the powerful spiraling vortex of Sedona. And be prepared to step in to the Ascension Portal as we accelerate consciousness during the 2024 Sedona Ascension Retreat, being held March 8th through the 10th at the Sedona Performing Arts Center. Just visit SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. We'll see you in Sedona. Introducing Debbie Solaris, who will be engaging in our Galactic Ascension panel, as well as offering a workshop during our Sedona Ascension Retreat. Debbie Solaris is an ET contactee, interdimensional traveler, and galactic historian. Debbie came to visit me in the Red Rocks of Sedona, and there she shared her fascinating story of extraterrestrial contact and her ability to download galactic history. Enjoy this intriguing conversation with Debbie Solaris. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm here with my good friend Deb Solaris, and we are so excited about our 2024 Sedona Ascension Retreat, March 8th through the 10th. I am your host, Suzanne Ross, and Deb is going to be doing a workshop. She's going to be sitting on the Galactic Ascension panel, and we just decided that she is going to show an amazing video about star people. And Deb is a galactic historian, and this morning she's been sharing a little bit more about her background and how she was interested in metaphysics and some spirituality, but then had this experience in 2012 that really launched her into exploring the galactics. So why don't we just start with that, Deb? 2012.
Yeah, the whole 2012 extraterrestrial contact experience. I think there was always like little breadcrumbs, like I was telling you before, about how it was just kind of preparing me to have this experience, So I did animal assisted therapy work for 6 years with my cat, who was actually a registered therapy animal through Pet Partners and the American Humane Association, and that was mainly preparing me to be of service. So I consider my therapy cat Piglet to be my first teacher. And she still is near and dear to my heart, and that's why I feature her website, even though it makes seem like, oh, wow, why she scam on her website. But the other thing, I think the most important thing was I was basically an unawakened human for quite a few years. Maybe when I was younger, I was more in tune with my, extrasensory perception, but that gets kind of beaten out of us, early on in life, as we're trying to, assimilate into the matrix, into, things that are going on, just trying to be part of the program. And just trying to fit in. And one thing I do notice about Arcturian star seeds is that, and I know that you're one yourself, is that we do a very good job of trying to fit in, where we're just trying to, it's kind of the diplomatic aspect of us where we're trying to relate. We're trying to just kind of, seamlessly fit into whatever culture that we're at the reality. And so I did that for a number of years. And my background is actually mostly in public health. I was an environmental health specialist for quite a few years. I had some side jobs in the IT field, so I worked. So I worked in corporate America. I worked in government. And I'm also a Navy veteran. I was in the Navy for 6 years, and then so I had no interest in extraterrestrials and any of that kind of thing. For a long time. What really guided me on this path was actually my husband. He was always somebody that had this curiosity about UFOs and aliens and the paranormal. And in a way, just meeting him and being with him expanded my consciousness to the point where, okay, maybe he's onto something, or maybe there's some validity to some of these stories that get passed around about extraterrestrial abductions. But I never thought that I would be having my own extraterrestrial abduction experience. And I don't really consider it an abduction. I consider it more like an honor, that I was chosen to be, to have this interface with these beautiful beings. So this happened for me in 2012. It was May 2012. I was I think, in the process of a lot of personal change. Terry, my husband, and I were deciding to move in together, and we were just, uh, combining households. And for a while, I stayed in Colorado Springs, and you were telling me about how your house was getting ready for you to get Scottsdale for a while. That same thing happened with us. We're actually out of Castle Rock, Colorado, which is the south of Denver, and that's where we're moving to. Before that, I lived in Colorado Springs, and uh, one day I just decided that I was really concerned about the planet, and so I sent this prayer out to the universe. Like I just wanted to see massive change because things were going to happen. I mean, it was not good. It wasn't looking good here. And so I sent this massive prayer out to the universe. And it was one of those sleepless nights where I stayed up all night praying, and it was very earnest. I had this sincere desire. And I was asking any divine, beings, can you help us? Can you help this planet? Because we're not doing well here. And I included all of the ascended masters, the angels, and even the galactic brothers and sisters, even though I wasn't even sure they existed. I just kind of threw that in there at the last minute. And so, I had my prayer. Next day, I just went to work as normal, and then nothing really came of it. At least it seemed that way. Um, and life went back to normal. And then 2 weeks later, I went to sleep, and I woke up in a separate consciousness. Where I was in some sort of alternate reality. And I could tell that it was not a dream. A lot of people say, well, maybe I'm just having this crazy dream. And I said, oh, no. I've had lucid dreams before. This was not a lucid dream. It was so real that it felt even more real than even here right now. This is pretty real. Okay, I mean, this is about as real as you can get here in Arizona. But it was just so amazing, the energy and how crisp and clear all the details were, colors and auras around things. And as I was looking around, I realized I was in an extraterrestrial craft, and the craft was a sentient being. It had its own consciousness. It was comprised of light, maybe some sort of plasma-like material, something I've never seen before. It was, very advanced technology, um, but I wasn't afraid. I just followed the craft to where it was leading me, and it led me into this massive space where there was 4 or 5 Arcturian beings waiting for me. They were waiting for me in the space that they called the orientation room. And I didn't know at first who these beings were. I didn't know they were Arcturian. I didn't know what they were. I just knew they weren't from Earth. I mean, it was pretty obvious. But you have to keep in mind that these extraterrestrial beings, their frequency is so much higher than ours here on Earth that it's like you can't even see them at first. It's like their auras are so bright that I had a hard time even focusing in on what they look like. Now, I would take glances on my periphery and I could see a little bit of their features and what they look like, but they have massive auras and they have a multitude of colors that I never even recognized in their auras. I mean, this is how it's like beyond our color spectrum here in the 3D. So I was trying to focus in on these beings and I was trying to formulate some questions in my head. And I was just like, do they even speak English? What do I do here? And so I was formulating, and even before I would finish the question in my head, they were answering them in telepathy. So they were communicating with me through telepathy. So I never even had to open my mouth, and it's amazing communicating in telepathy. There's no misunderstanding. There's no I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like you get a clear picture without them even maybe using words of what they're trying to communicate with you. Uh, and so they were using language, and sometimes they would show me images either um, telepathically, or there was and there was also this hologram within the room where sometimes it would make me feel like I was actually experiencing what they were telling me about. And basically, what they told me was that, because of course I've asked, who are you? And they showed me they were from Arcturus, which was this star system in the Bodas constellation, and they showed me where it was on the map, and on a star map. And then uh, I asked, why me? Because I'm nobody special. I'm just, ordinary human. And they told me that I was part of their star family. And I was just like so excited, because it's like, wow, I'm part of these wonderful beings, and they told me the whole history of the genetic history of my family, just even my Earth family. Um, and how they started a civilization in central Italy, and the Etruscan civilization was actually started by the Arcturians. It was meant to be like a civilization that was a little bit more spiritual than what was around there at the time, but I don't know if it was a complete success. I think there was aspects of it that was successful, but my actual lineage comes from the Etruscans, my Earth lineage. So that made a lot of sense to me, because of the region that my family came from. And they told me a lot about what was happening on Earth. I had a lot of questions about religions, government, social economic status, why things are the way, why is there so much suffering on Earth. And the one thing they told me over and over again was that everything in the 3D is an illusion. They told me this like 5 times. Like, I didn't at the time I didn't understand it. I was like, "What are you talking about? It seems real to me. I mean, I'm sitting on this rock. It seems like it's real, uh, but now I think I understand what they're talking about. That this is kind of like a simulation that we're all kind of going through. And so there was more to my incident. I actually they took me on a tour of the ship. I saw some amazing rooms, and then they kind of let me loose. They said I could wander on my own. And then I found myself in this huge atrium, which was the center of the ship. It was huge, and there was hundreds of extraterrestrial beings of all species. And I was just like taken aback, like, oh my God, it's like, look at all these beings, it's just like, and most of them were humanoid, but there were a few that weren't. I mean, there were a few that were looking a little different, but, and the Arcturians looked different. I mean, they look like your classical Arcturians now that I know what they're supposed to look like, but
Which is
larger heads, larger eyes. Their eyes had irises and pupils. Not really facial features. They didn't look like people. Kind of bluish skin, maybe bluish greenish, maybe, but it's hard to tell with the big auras. But they were smaller. I mean, maybe they made themselves smaller because I was so short. So they were. And when I looked at myself, and so I know that I wasn't there physically, that my consciousness was there. But when I looked at myself in the space, I looked like myself. I mean, I had a human body, and arms and legs and hands or whatever. But these beings were just beautiful and amazing. And I ran into some Pleiadians on board the ship. They're just magnificent. Oh my God. I mean, if you ever run into a Pleiadian, you can tell they're not from Earth. I mean, they look human. I mean, they have like a human appearance, but they're very tall. They just glow from within. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like they have this luminosity about them that is like, oh my God, I can't. I don't. You never see Earth people like this. That's. I mean, not even the most beautiful people, but and it's just a level of loving kindness that you feel from these beings. That they just support you and love you, and no matter where you're at. Um, so what was interesting about this atrium is there was this shafts shifting through. They were like line shafts. I call them escalators. Um, but they were like lines that would transport beings across the atrium. And so I thought, oh, I want to go on that. And I kept stepping on it, and it would just throw me off. It would throw me off. And a Pleiadian being, a male Pleiadian being, saw me struggling, and he helped me, and he said, you're doing it incorrectly. He says, what you want to do is set an intention of in your head first of where you want to go, because otherwise the shaft isn't going to know where to take you. Isn't that a metaphor for life, right? We always got to
right.
set intention. We always got to set an intention of where we want to go. Otherwise, we're not going to go anywhere. And I remembered that, and I was like, oh wow, I think I'm going to do what this being said because he obviously knows what he's doing. And I ended up just thinking about, okay, I want to go to that spot there. And I stepped on it, and it was transporting me across this huge room right in the middle of the air. And I was so excited. And then I woke up and I was back in my bed, darn it. So,
Oh,
man, I was like, I never made it to the other side of the room. So I was all pissed off and, I don't know, upset, but, or bummed out. But I just, ever since then, when I woke up, I knew that something had changed. Like my consciousness had been expanded. I was never going to be the same person again. And I then, for a couple of years after that, I was just on my own personal spiritual journey where I just took a lot of spiritual classes in the beach area of Denver and Boulder, Colorado Springs. And then in the end of 2015, I was asked to speak about an experience that it was a different paranormal event. They had some experiencers on a panel. It was really scary because I was like, oh my God, I think I'm a nutcase. But everybody just loved my story. They're just like, oh my God. we need to get you on stage, you know. So soon after that, I spoke about galactic history on at the University of Colorado for the Exo Boulder group, and you know that was pretty exciting and kind of sent me on this new trajectory. I do have to say, before that happened, I did have a lot of multi-dimensional experiences. You and I were talking about this earlier, you know, how you and I, we both had this kind of similar journey where we just started having all these multi-dimensional experiences. Like after I was on board the ship, I was seeing UFOs all the time. I was telepathically communicating with extraterrestrials on board these ships. I was interdimensionally traveling just in, you know, different parts of Colorado. I just being out, you know, maybe in the west part of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the name of the area, like Divide or some of those areas in Colorado, and I would just be having some sort of weird experience. Uh, you know, sometimes I'll be traveling on Highway 85, 86, and I would have an interdimensional experience. There was a time when there was 100 crows that showed up in my backyard. Why crows? I don't know, but it was a lot of weird experiences like that. And during this time, I was noticing that I was having massive downloads of galactic information. It was like I was just starting to remember stuff, and I at first I thought I was going crazy. Like, what the heck is this? I've never heard this. I never read about this. And then I started doing my own research, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this. And then when I started doing Akashic readings, that gave me a channel to pull to get, I guess, answers to why I was getting these downloads and what they meant, what were they about. And so I was speaking, you know, throughout the Front Range of Colorado for several years. And then in 2000, um, I would say probably 2016, 2017, I had my own, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, kind of took a break from everything because I had to heal. And then in 2019 was when I finally retired from my 3D job, which you and I talked about. and and decided to do this full time. I just kind of answered a calling. You know, my guides have been telling me for years, like, you need to give up your job, you need to do this full time, and you know, you have a message to share. You know, and I don't know, you probably have Arcturian guides as well. I know I do, but Arcturian guides are kind of interesting. Um, they put us through little trials and tribulations at times to teach us a lesson or teach us something. And at the time, we're like questioning it the whole time, like, what the heck are they having me do now? You know, like you were talking about, you went through the Buddhist path for a while with your sister, and with me, they sent me to a Zen Buddhist center in Crestone, Colorado, and I was supposed to learn how to meditate because I was like so resistant to it. I was like, I don't want to meditate. I'm not good at it. I like my monkey mind, you know. So they sent me there, and then my husband came along with me, and it was one of the most transformative experiences that he and I had together. It was just an amazing experience, but I knew at that point that, you know what, things are just not going to be the same. Then they sent me to Crestone again with a kite. So they told me, you have to fly this kite in the San Luis Mountains. And I was like, San Luis Mountains? That's Crestone. Okay, so I went to open space. I never flew a kite in my life. I just got one from Amazon or someplace. I I got connected to this Arcturian portal, and they were downloading all this information, and that was when they downloaded what my specific mission was going to be. And they said, "Okay, you're ready now. We're going to, you know, share with you your mission." And they told me, "You're going to be a public speaker. You're going to be out in front of quite a few people." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm an INFJ. No way," you know. Um, and it took a few years, you know, after that experience, but now I'm on this path. So that's pretty much my story. And of course, soon after I I started on this path, I And I've been doing Akashic readings for, I would say, thousands of people all across the globe for the last 10 years. I mean, I've compiled quite a bit of information, I guess, on star seeds, which I'll talk about in a moment, what we're going to do with that. But one of the, um, what was interesting was when I finally let go and decided, okay, I'm letting go with the 3D matrix. I'm going to go on my spiritual path. Just 2 months after that, I was called in to do a show for Gaia, and that started my, I guess, Gaia appearances. So I've had a few shows since then, um, but my guides were right. You know, they were saying you're on this new path. So going back to all the readings I've done, part of the reason why I do readings is because I want to connect people with their own star heritage and with their own divine selves and their own soul path and what because we go through this deep veil of forgetfulness here on this planet. It's just horrible. We forget a lot. It's just part of the process of being part of this reality, and then we have to break out of it. And it took me a while to break out of it. I was 50 years old when I was awakened. I mean, I'm 61 now. And I still feel like I'm new to this. I still feel like there's a lot I need to learn. But I think part of the thing that I feel grateful and honored is um, that somehow I was chosen to do this. I don't know why me, because I'm nobody special, but I think it was part of my soul journey and part of my soul contract, with this planet, to do this work. Um, so I've done lots of readings for many people of all demographics all throughout the planet. Right now, I'm trying to bring together all this information that I've compiled with, of course, my client's permission. I'm not, I'm not violating any confidentiality laws because I've received their permission beforehand. So obviously, the clients that don't want me to look at their information, we're not using. But quite a few clients have allowed me to use their information, and we're doing a big starseed study right now. It's me and two epidemiologists from New York. We're just trying to look at trends um, within the the three generations that Dolores Cannon talks about. That's the three waves of volunteers. What star lineages are we seeing represented in all of these generations? What traits are we seeing amongst people of certain star lineages? What careers are they drawn to? What are their personality traits? What kind of illnesses or what other health issues they struggle with here on Earth? And I think the purpose of all this is to get a greater understanding of ourselves so that we can navigate through this reality a lot easier and create a better reality for all of us. So I feel very, very passionate about this. I know I've struggled for years. I know you've had your struggles. We talked about our dark nights of the souls together, and I want to make things easier for all of us here, so that we can be all on this ascension path and navigate it a lot easier. So if we're struggling with health issues, what is it that we can do that can help us resolve them so that we can get aligned with our higher vibrations, and get upgraded, maybe upgrade our DNA, maybe align ourselves to our true path. So this is what I am in a nutshell, and I really appreciate Suzanne, you being so interested in me and my story, having me hosting me here, and I'm just being your guest. And thank you for all of this. I just feel honored to be here today. Thanks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have a panel called the Galactic Ascension Roundtable. And Ruben Langdon, host of Interviews with Extra Dimensionals on Gaia TV, is going to be hosting it. And we have three channelers. Wendy Kennedy, she's very popular
Oh yeah,
for,
she's amazing.
right, I love her. She channels the Pleiadian Collective. And I can't wait to share the Zoom call we had with Alan Steinfeld on New Realities TV with Wendy Kennedy, the Pleiadian Collective, Sean Swanson, Ishua of the Yael Civilization, Rob Gauthier, who channels Treb and Aradif, ancient Pleiadians, and he will also channel Metatron. He's known as the ET Whisperer. But I was asking questions of these different star races about the times that we're going through. Here we are in late October, Deb and I, and of course, we're going through this crisis in the Middle East. And a lot of Christian channels, like YouTube channels, are talking about the end times and the end time prophecies in the Bible. And according to the Bible during Revelation, there's this rapture. And I've always been so curious if the rapture in Christianity is like the ascension in spirituality. So I asked the Pleiadian Collective through Wendy Kennedy, and they said yes. Definitely. The rapture in Christianity is the same concept as ascension in spirituality. Much of these concepts about the end time are similar, and the Pleiadian Collective said it is the end times because the third dimension is the end of time. We're transitioning, they said, through the fourth dimension,
Exactly.
where time becomes more fluid.
Yeah.
And here in this realm of choice, some people are choosing to go back to the third dimension and go around that wheel again. Some people are choosing the ascension or the rapture, where they have elevated their love light frequency to a point where they can shift up into a higher dimensional plane of awareness. And that in the fifth dimension, past, present, and future are happening all at once. There is no time, and so literally, it's the end of time itself. So I just love, these questions that we can ask of the galactics that bring through such astonishing, amazing revelations. And then, of course, on this Galactic Ascension panel, Deb Solaris with her as a galactic historian. And at the same time, you don't identify as a channel necessarily, but you're downloading information constantly.
Well, I do channel the Akashic records a lot.
Ah,
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
So,
okay.
so that's, I guess that's my channeling is I'm channeling maybe the Akashic guides or the Arcturian collective. So a lot of times I channel through that realm. But so in a way I do channel, but I just don't call it that because I'm focusing on the history side of it. But and then we're gonna have Vivian Chavez on the group too.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Arcturian human hybrid.
I know she's amazing. Oh my god, I love her. I mean, I'm so honored to be on the panel with her. Among all the other luminaries that are going to also be on the panel. But
Yeah, I met Vivian and instantly we had a connection because here's the interesting thing. Deb shared with me, Vivian has shared with me personally that when we first became aware of Arcturians, we knew instantly that we had a very direct connection ancestrally
yeah, exactly.
to that star race. And so it's no doubt that, I really relate to Deb. And when we start to share our background, we're like,
Oh,
whoa,
so similar.
so many parallels.
I know. I was like, oh my god.
And then we're having coffee just before this interview here, and I had an open spot in the video showing portion of our event, and we decided that Deb could create a video about this amazing artwork that her friend Billy has been creating. Oh my goodness, these depictions of these star beings from the different
they're
races
amazing. They're so amazing.
are so compelling.
Yeah, they're so realistic. It makes you feel like you're there with them. So I'm excited to create a little video that can really showcase these beings and make them really real for people. Because a lot of times we talk about extraterrestrial races, and it's hard to maybe visualize what they're like. And so through the magic of AI art, my videographer has created all these beautiful depictions of beings and what they went through, the whole um, just the whole refugee process, after the Lyran Wars, the Orion Wars, what they went through, some of the not so well known races like, the Alpha Centaurians and the Venusians, so we're going to have it all. I mean, it's just going to be amazing for people.
And it will be the first debut of this amazing
Yeah,
Starseed
it will be.
video.
Yeah, but no, it's going to be Wazonga,
I totally felt like I recognized these beings. I was like, yes, that's what the Hathors look like. Yes, that's what the Lyrans look like. Amazing.
So if you
Yeah,
love Byron lion beings, we're going to have them. Yeah, everybody loves those beings. And if you love the Sirius B, aquatic beings, we're going to have them too. So it's going to just be fun for everybody.
absolutely. What are you talking about in your workshop?
Uh, Mainly talking about galactic history and how it relates to the Earth experience.
Perfect.
Yeah, so how did these extraterrestrial races influence the civilizations of planet Earth, particularly Lemuria and Atlantis, but also maybe Egypt and maybe even beyond that? And what qualities did they bring that still influence what we do here on Earth today? I think it's going to be fun, and I think people are going to really relate to it.
Well, you are an expert in that category. You've been doing it for years and years and years and
Thank
have
you.
tons of research and
Thank you.
lots of downloads. So
Thank you. No, I'm just honored to be able to share this in such a beautiful venue here. I mean, who can beat this, And
come to the vortex.
yeah, come to was that the Performance Arts Center, right? We're doing it again
Sedona
at
Performing
Arts.
Arts Center is the premier event venue in Sedona. It's a gorgeous theater, massive stage, huge PowerPoint screen, great AV.
Yeah, you can't beat it. It's probably even more spectacular than uh the the venue I spoke at the University of Colorado. Was the Wolf Law Center. It was this big Adrian. I mean, it was this big, auditorium. I was like, oh my god, I think I've arrived. I don't know what's going on here. But no, it's even more spectacular than that. So if you can imagine University of Colorado, but maybe an even more stellar version of that, then you definitely want to come here.
Yay. And of course, we have a ton of retail and food vendors too. So join us in Sedona. Go to SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. We have low early bird pricing that expires December 1st. So get your tickets now. Reserve your seats for the workshops, for the outdoor journeys. We have shuttle buses that take people into Sedona's tech sites with guides who guide in a meditation, visualization, spiritual experience, tuning you into the vortex. So, yes, please join us in Sedona next year, March 8th through 10th. Thanks so much, Deb.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy. Thank you. And I hope to see you all soon. Bye bye.
See you in Sedona. You're invited to come to Sedona, not just for my Sedona Ascension Retreat, where you will experience enlightenment, inspiration, and empowerment. Come to Sedona for the magnificent Red Rocks.
Welcome to the Sedona Ascension Retreat. We are here in unity, community. That's what this event is all about, is gathering like-minded souls, the children of love and light, to come together as a powerful force for creating heaven on earth, for creating more peace and unity and harmony, in love with one another.
We anchor to a higher galactic energy.
An emergence of heart-centered consciousness.
Allow the spiraling vortex of Sedona to raise your vibration.